Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and today I want to share with you the books and resources I'm using to put together a math main lesson block for my 8-year-old daughter. I do have the Live Education Waldorf curriculum for grade 2 and 3 that I'm going to be using as well, but I also have collected a lot of additional resources, and this really helps bring out and bring together our unit. So when I'm putting together a math unit study, or really any unit study, I try to keep in mind the students that I'm going to have. And generally, when I'm putting together a unit study or a main lesson block, I'm going to be dealing with multiple age groups. And for that reason, I like to have things that can work with the younger students as well as the older students. Now, for a math main lesson block or a unit study, that's a little bit more challenging, especially this time around. The two kids that I'm homeschooling currently are my 8-year-old daughter and my 13-year-old son, and right now they're in vastly different mathematical areas. So while my son may still enjoy to do some of these things together, for the most part, he's not going to participate. And likewise, my daughter is not really interested in the things that he's doing for his geometry main lesson block. But when I'm putting together a unit, I do try to have picture books, activities, things that we can do in the kitchen. Math works great for that. We can definitely utilize measurement when we're headed to the kitchen to bake or to cook. I also try to have projects and hands-on activities and things that can really get the children into the learning and excited about it and really using their whole bodies to learn. So for math in particular, there's a lot of resources available for movement math, or I shouldn't say a lot. I should say it's becoming more available for movement math and mental math. So for movement math, which is great for all ages, but it's a great opportunity to practice math facts. You can use counting sticks and just kind of tap and rhythmically tapping in order to do skip counting. You can use a beanbag and toss it back and forth when you are practicing your multiplication tables. You can also use balls. You can go out into like a court where you can have like a hard surface and you can bounce the balls back and forth. All these things really get the whole body in gear for math. So for my 8-year-old daughter, we're going to be practicing the basics of math with addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And the Waldorf main lesson block generally, or the Waldorf approach rather, introduces all four mathematical operations all at once. And so it can be really overwhelming if you are not used to this style of teaching, or if you just have a hard time grappling all of the functions all at once. And I kind of wanted to try this time around. It never really appealed to me before. And now that I'm working with my final child, my 8-year-old, I thought that I would try to follow this approach a little bit more the way the curriculum intends it, because with my other 3 children, I didn't do it that way. Okay, let me show you our resources first, and then at the end, I'll show you the curriculum. I'm going to do it backwards today. The first book I want to show you is The Boy Who Loved Math, The Improbable Life of Paul Erdős. I love this book. It is so well done. The illustrations so perfectly match the whole feel of the story. It's a great book to use anytime, not just with a math unit study or a main lesson block, but especially with a unit study on math, because it brings in a different element than what you're doing. It brings in history, a biography, a picture book, and it also just shows the love of math for this mathematician. So I love this book. I highly recommend it. If you once you read it once, you're just going to want to own it in your own home library. So we're going to be reading this book, and it's just so that we have some fun opening activities that complement the unit. We also have a number of games as well. This one is called Addition Math Bingo. Now this happens to be, I think, a classroom set. So it has a lot more pieces than we actually need. So I think it has enough for 36 players. So you have your little bingo chips, and I believe there's well, there should be the numbers that you, well, actually, there we go. I don't remember, because it's been a while since we played this, but I'm thinking that you get an equation maybe, and then you mark the answer. And then of course, as with all bingo, in order to win, you have to get all across, all down, or all diagonal, I believe. So adding math games like this, or any math games to our unit, is a lot of great fun. It helps practice what you've learned, and it also helps you can also use it to introduce a new math concept if you wanted to. And because my kids are playing with, they're all different ages, and so a lot of times they're being introduced to math concepts at a younger age when they're playing with their older siblings, and then when likewise their older siblings can review the material that is being introduced for the younger student. Simple math Lotto, addition and subtraction. This is another game that's similar to similar to a math bingo, but a little bit different in the how you win. So you have these really nice sturdy tiles. This is really good quality. This is a little bit more affordable. I just want to show you the quality difference, but this is just going to be still like some fair quality material, and it's kind of glossy on the front. But as far as durability, I feel like the Ebu games are really well done. The tile is nice and sturdy. And so on one side, you're going to have addition, and the other side, you're going to have subtraction. You put all of your tiles upside down. Then you pick one, and you have the answer, and then you try to match up your answer with the question. And then once you play either tile or either side, then you can flip it over and you can play the other side. So I like that there's addition and subtraction in the same game. This is super simple, but I'll tell you that even my 13-year-old will play this with us still. Now, I don't think that's going to happen in the next coming months and the following year, but up until I'd say puberty, a lot of my older students still enjoy playing the games that I had intended for my younger kids. This is one that I think children even beyond the age range will enjoy playing this because it's not so childish looking. And we do have this game for older students. Let me grab those for you. We have a total of 5 of them, but I'm just pulling a couple of them out here. This one is just for addition and subtraction, and the basic premise of the game is that you try to make 24, and you have these cards that have different levels of difficulty. So you have like 2 dots is medium, 3 dots is harder, and then you've got ones that just have 1 dot, which I cannot find right now. But anyway, those would be the simplest card. And so you just need to add and subtract until you get to 24. And this one is the easiest of all 5 games that we have. They can increase in difficulty to use multiplication and division, or all 4 operations. You can use, I've got one that has decimals and fractions, and then another one that has negative numbers as well. So we really, really like this game. It's a great way just to, like an opening activity, great way to invite the children into that learning space. We love games. We just I find them to be a great way to introduce, to review, or to practice math facts or any kind of learning. So we have like the Professor Noggins games as well. Those are trivia-based card games for other subjects. And so doing games is just a really great way to bring your students together and transition from a play environment into a learning environment. So I definitely love using the games before we get into like our actual learning. But sometimes the games end up being all the learning. Mosaic Mysteries. We've had this game for ages. My children still love to play this. All 4 of my children, well, not play, but really construct these. All 4 of my children have really, really enjoyed this. So I highly recommend it. We've had it for 15 years or so, a really long time, and it's still in really good condition. The tile pieces are really good quality, and luckily we probably haven't really lost any of the pieces. So I'm very thankful for that. This is by Discovery Toys, and it comes with a lot of examples of different mosaics that you can do. And then, of course, my children just like to practice on their own and just come up with their own. So another fun way to get into the math feel for the day. Set is another great game that you can, it's not just for math. I mean, it is pattern recognition, but you can use it for critical thinking and logic and things like that. So I do have tutorials on a lot of these games that I've shown you. You can find the link to a complete playlist on math games down in the description box below. But basically you get 12 cards, and then you try to make sets with in these cards, a set of 3. And the basic premise is they all have to be the same or all different in order to make a set. And so the best way that I've played is just by, or learned or taught, is just by playing the game. And very, very quickly, within a couple of rounds, you start to get what it means to make a set. So I don't see one. Oh wait, I do see one here. So here we have, they're all different colors, but they're all the same shape and they're all the same number. Okay, so you wouldn't be able to do this because in this case, 2 are the same and 1 is different, because 2 have 2 numbers and 1 is different, and then 2 are purple and 1 is red, so that wouldn't make a set. All right, so it's a great game that's really great for all ages. I found that it doesn't really matter the age. There are some games that are more skill based, like these math games. This is more skill based, where a younger student wouldn't fare as well as an older student. But I found that this game doesn't matter your age. Young students tend to do really well with it. I also have a set of just flashcards, and I don't really utilize these that often, but since I have them, I went ahead and pulled them out for this unit because it's nice to have a variety of things. I wouldn't use this as our only mode of learning, but sometimes it's fun just to kind of mix it up. And because we don't do a lot of flashcards and workbooks in our homeschool, they become a novelty item, and then they become a little bit interesting. And also, this kind of saves me having to come up with some questions. I don't actually have to use the flashcard, but I could use it as mental math and just recite these different equations, and then we have the answer if you don't want to work out the math, although they're pretty simple. And that way you could just get some math in a fun kind of, you don't really have to plan and prepare for it. Uno is another great math game, and so is Monopoly, by the way. So go ahead and add those games into your lessons. They are a lot of fun, especially Monopoly. I think that was an introduction for my children for learning about money and currency and addition and subtraction. Like if you're going to buy a property for 160 and you're using 200 or 500, then you calculate the change. That was a lot of fun. Uno's another great math game to use, not so much because you're really learning about math, but it has numbers and it's a card game that's great for getting into the math spirit. So anytime I can add these into our unit, I definitely try to do that. Okay, I've got a number of dice here. You don't need to use all of them at once, and this one's kind of cool because it has numbers up to, I think, 20. And then we have multiplication, we have addition and subtraction, we have an equal sign, and then we have numbers all the way up to 12, as well as regular dice. And so you can do this a number of ways. You could use these kinds of dice and roll 2 of them, and you could use your multiplication or your addition and subtraction, and then you could come up with the answer. So 1 times 3 equals 3. You could use the addition sign. You can make it 4. You can use these together, so that together would make 17. So there's just a lot of different ways that you can use dice. They don't have to be math dice in particular. You could just pull a couple of dice from a game that you already have. So another fun way to do some math games for your unit. Okay, let's go through some of the other books that I've got. Bedtime Math, The Truth Comes Out. There are, I think, at least 3 in this series, maybe more. I like these books, but I don't love them. I like them because they are super different than the other math books that I have, in the sense that they come with this great little paragraph about something that's either historical or trivia or scientific or just plain old fun. And then it goes through some questions that are math related. And one of the reasons why I don't like is because I feel like the different levels don't stay consistent throughout the book. Like sometimes there'll be like one for little kids that's super easy, and then you'll have one that's really hard. But what I do like is that you have different levels, and so it's great to play with older kids and younger kids. And then the content itself is pretty fun and kind of silly and whimsical and great to listen to. So this is like a great bedtime routine. But then we also use it during the day as well. We'll go through phases. We might really get into this and do a lot of them at one time, and then we put the book away and we don't even open it up for like months and months. Waldorf Book of Poetry. I pulled this one out because this book is a really wonderful resource if you are looking for poetry for different subject areas. And so this one will go through a lot of different subject areas, including numbers and grammar, history, animals, flowers. And so there's this whole section on numbers, and I was just going through it to see if there were any poems that we could use, that we could maybe start off our day reciting, or I could add to our chalk drawing or our chalkboard. And while I haven't chosen one yet, I just still wanted to show you that this is just packed with information, or rather it's just a really thorough resource for all kinds of poems that could complement your lessons. The History of Counting. I love this book. I highly recommend it. It's really great because it goes through slightly a history of counting and slightly just the different methods that you can use for counting, and how our number system today really, in my opinion, allows us to do some pretty complicated math at a really young age. The only thing I'm not super crazy about is the illustrations, but that's so minimal. The content of the book is really fantastic, and I highly recommend this one as well. Mesmerizing Math. This one I pulled out because it's a lot of fun. I have a ton of math-related picture books. I have also multiple videos as well as an extensive blog post on math picture books. That link is down in the description box below if you want to look at them and look through the blog post. But I only pulled a couple of books for this particular unit just because if we went through all the books, that would be our entire unit. So I had to be a little bit selective, and I thought this one would be interesting for this particular unit since we're doing something more general on math, just in general, and arithmetic, and so I went ahead and I picked this one up. Two new books that we are using for this unit. We have King Maximo and the Number Knights, and Sarah and the Number Knights, and these are both Waldorf inspired books on the numbers. What I really love about these books is that it goes through each number and it gives like this whole story behind it. It's basically about 12 knights who go out and try to figure out what's the best number. And each one comes back and they say what's really significant about each number. And then the king is like, bravo, that's great. And then the knight makes a shield based on that number. And then at the end, we find that all the numbers are important. There really isn't a best number. Spoiler alert. And then we have Sarah and the Number Knights, and then this goes on. I believe it continues the story. So Sarah was just not even a main character in the previous story, and now she becomes she's part of this story. But I don't know that she's a main character in this story either. But anyway, we have not read through this one yet, but this will be part of this unit. We already did read through this one, and the kids were pretty interested in it until they realized there wasn't going to be one winner, that all the numbers are going to be interesting. They were really like holding out for what was that one special number. I just pulled the second grade math main lesson block. This main lesson block, I do really like it, but I've struggled with how to incorporate it the way that it is designed, because it goes through nature and form drawing and arithmetic, which makes a lot of sense, but I have had a little bit of trouble going through the beginning lessons. But then after that, it like quickly gets you into general math facts, and I think skip counting, and it's been a while since I actually went through this particular main lesson block, but it's going to be the basis for our math that's going to be written and not mental. So up until this age, my daughter's done a lot of mental math and just learning numbers, but there hasn't been a lot of carrying numbers and the concept of tens and hundreds and so on. We've done a lot of math, but not in a instructional way. So the math that we've done, and I've utilized a lot of these workbooks that you can pick up from the dollar store or from Target, and basically we will do these in a really simple manner, because basic math, like the basics of addition, subtraction, and division and multiplication is a little bit trickier. It's pretty intuitive if you've grown up around numbers, if you've talked about numbers, if you've counted. All these things are part of the math acquisition. The same way you would learn about language by speaking it, you learn about math by being around it and doing it. So when it comes time to actually use a workbook, this comes after a lot of math has been experienced. So I will use these to, in a way, to be honest, add a little bit of busy work so that I can work with other students, or that I can know that I've got something that, to show for the day. And also, you can get a lot of these, you can create your own worksheets and you can find a lot of them online. I just like having a few on hand just so that if I need something for my daughter to practice, I can pull out a couple of pages from any of these workbooks. I'm not really picky about the workbooks as long as it's just basic arithmetic. I don't want word problems. I don't want other math included, like measurement or statistics or graphing or anything else. I just want the basic arithmetic. And so in that case, I'm not super particular about the workbooks. As long as my daughter can do them and she enjoys them, then I will just add them into our unit. Okay, I think that covers it. If you want to see some of the tutorials based on our math unit study, you can tap on the screen right now. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video for more information about the materials that we're using, as well as more tutorials. And if you want to see how our homeschool is progressing on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.